Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is AS, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I have been a gamer since the mid-90s. I'm not going to review my entire history with gaming since there is already a detailed project that you can check out on this channel at your leisure. Nonetheless, the past 3 decades as a member of the gaming community have awarded me with a certain insight that the kids and teenagers who have been introduced to the hobby in the past 10 years or so simply cannot comprehend. Have you ever tried to play the Game Boy Color at night inside of your parents' car and was forced to pray to Lady Luck herself that the streetlights will help you see what in the world is happening in the game? Have you ever walked into a local video game store and purchased a strategy guide to aid your mastery of a particular game? Have you ever checked out the closest Blockbuster store and rented a video game for the weekend? If your answer to either or all of those questions is a resounding yes, then you can empathize with my point of view. If you were justifiably clueless about any of those questions because you were born in an era where video game rentals, strategy guides, and Game Boy Color handhelds have become a thing of the distant past, this video is primarily for you. My experience within the gaming community has seen its fair share of ups and downs. The days when I visited a Toys R Us and purchased a sealed game for the Game Boy Advance were glorious, and the moments when I would jump up and down with anticipation of the yearly E3 reveals and announcements were unforgettable. At the same time, I've also seen the dark side of the pastime. I was there when Xbox decided to commit financial self-deletion and claimed that the Xbox One was an entertainment device first and a gaming platform second. I was there when video games that I love, such as Dante's Inferno and Too Human, were released only to be abandoned as standalone games instead of becoming the first entries of a series. I was there to witness the extreme cases of the gaming community who felt motivated to take the hobby too seriously and harass or harm other human beings because their precious time with gaming was, as they believed, put at risk. Gaming will be a part of my daily routine for the foreseeable future, but it's not all sunshines and rainbows. With that being said, I want to take a moment out of your day to express how the state of gaming has substantially changed from the late 90s and early 2000s to today's time frame of the mid-2020s. Thankfully, there's an upcoming game that will help me perfectly encapsulate my thoughts: Grand Theft Auto 6. As a game that is supposedly launching in mid-November of this year, Grand Theft Auto 6 is scheduled to be a phenomenon instead of a video game. Following its predecessor's release, which was all the way back in 2013, the latest video game by Rockstar has already set the standards for current and future games in the eyes of many gamers. Furthermore, there are numerous cases online where people claim that they will take a day, a week, or a month off of their current employment in order to play Grand Theft Auto 6 at release. It's clear that Rockstar's newest addition to its catalog of video games is special to the gaming community. At the same time, it's quite ironic that the game that is supposed to change the landscape of gaming as a whole and bring gamers in unison to celebrate gaming is also the catalyst to the purpose behind this entire video. Unless you have deliberately or subconsciously ignored everything that transpired in gaming within the last several years, the perception of the hobby in the eyes of many gamers is unfortunately depressing. You may have seen these typical comments on social media: gaming is dry, gaming is dead, the game is mid, the game is woke, these developers need to be physically assaulted because the game is not to my liking. We will absolutely discuss the cesspool that is the online Discord space later in this video, but I want to use the remainder of this video to explain how, on purpose or by accident, Grand Theft Auto 6 has exposed today's state of gaming. Before we begin, I want to make something abundantly clear. If you are excited for Grand Theft Auto 6, buy it. If you feel some type of way about my video because I will not put my entire life on hold for GTA 6, God bless you, and I will not tell you to feel otherwise. The objective of this video is to offer my perspective on gaming by touching on specific practices that, as it so happens to be, Grand Theft Auto 6 is guilty of or is aiding in their amplification. I'm almost certain that we will have our share of disagreements, so give me the courtesy to ask you for a single favor. Please keep it civil. I would genuinely prefer to have a civil conversation as opposed to seeing barbaric comments that only prove my point. As always, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section. I look forward to discussing them with you. Without further ado, let's talk about the ways in which Grand Theft Auto 6 exposed today's state of gaming. Premature reveals. Whether a video game release grabs your attention or already dismisses itself from your personal list of most anticipated video games, a game's reveal always evokes a sense of curiosity. It especially pertains to titles that you could not predict to be present at whichever showcase it's ultimately featured. A few of the video game releases that surely received a massive amount of pop from the fans include 2007's Halo 3,
I know you. Your past. Your future.
2020's The Last of Us Part 2,
No!
I'm gonna find. And I'm gonna kill. Every last one of them.
Oh my god, yo, I don't care about anything else. Fuck everything.
and 2012's Mass Effect 3.
Only one thing is certain. If Shepard doesn't bring help soon,
Yes!
there won't be an Earth left to save.
Video game reveals are still exciting today, but a few of them follow a dangerous path that could potentially damage the peak of interest by the fans. In other words, some video game reveals are prematurely announced. Take Cyberpunk 2077 for example. A title that graced us with its presence in 2020, Cyberpunk 2077 was initially revealed in 2012. After a long 8-year wait, the game was made available to the public, and even though players of next-generation consoles like the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S had a solid experience at its core, owners of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One from an earlier generation received an experience that was practically unplayable. A premature unveil does not immediately point to a broken experience, but it definitely lessens the excitement of anyone who is remotely interested in the game because they have no idea if they have to wait a decade to get their hands on the title. Another culprit is Kingdom Hearts 4. It was announced back in 2020, and we only received gameplay footage this year at June's Nintendo Direct. Even so, the gameplay reveal did not have an indication as to the title's release. As far as I'm concerned, a game's reveal has 3 objectives for its success. 1. Intrigue me. 2. Feature gameplay footage. And 3. Include a release date. Neither Cyberpunk 2077 nor Kingdom Hearts 4 achieved a passing grade on these fronts, and Grand Theft Auto 6 is not an exception. It was initially unveiled to the world back in December of 2023, and as is the case with any video game by developer Rockstar Games, the world went ablaze with anticipation. Unfortunately, the announcement did not successfully ace the aforementioned 3 objectives. Was I interested in seeing how Rockstar Games could potentially evolve the Grand Theft Auto formula? Sure, but I was never a massive fan of the series. The details from my disinterest will be discussed later in this video, but at the end of the day, the announcement did not wholeheartedly intrigue me, did not feature gameplay footage, and did not include a release date. It's an undeniable fact that many gaming announcements in the past also did not hit a home run with the previously stated 3 objectives, but premature releases are sadly a shortcoming that is plaguing the gaming community till this day. Pre-orders and high-tiered editions of games. Back in the old times of gaming, it was the norm that a video game would release in its most complete form and would never ask the consumer for additional payment post-launch to gain access to extra content. No downloadable content, no pre-order incentives, no microtransactions. I miss that era of gaming on a daily basis. Back in 2005, the Xbox 360 was released to the general public, and while the graphical jump between the original Xbox and the Xbox 360 was enormous, it was this jump that, unbeknownst to publishers, developers, and gamers, created an undesirable gaming practice, milking the consumer before and after a title's release. When it comes to post-launch payment, microtransactions and downloadable content take center stage. In most cases, the extra content is not required to complete the experience that is presented to you with the base game. However, it does not change the fact that you are not receiving the complete package with your base purchase. It does not redeem these developers and publishers in the eyes of the consumer when they do everything in their power to incentivize you to pay beyond the base amount of money. Whether we are talking about advertising visually appealing customization items, highlighting purchasable content that is designed to ease your experience as a whole, or preventing you from playing with other players in certain modes until you buy the downloadable content. If we are only focusing on pre-launch incentives, it is here where you are taking the biggest risk. Despite not having any hands-on time with the game in question, video game-based companies try to encourage you to invest your hard-earned type of currency and secure your purchase of the game at launch. The encouragement typically presents itself in the form of pre-order bonuses, which reward you with items that you cannot otherwise access during your time with the game. Nevertheless, the most troublesome practice, which brings us back to the earlier statement about how you do not acquire a complete experience with your base purchase, is different tiered rewards. As a point of reference, let us use the newest iteration in the WWE 2K series, WWE 2K26. There are 4 different editions. I will not dive into details as it's not the purpose of the video, but the chart that you see on your screen right now tells you everything that you need to know. If you compare the Standard Edition and the Monday Night War Edition, it's clear as crystal that the Standard Edition is missing a good chunk of additional content. Let's return to our main point of comparison for today's video, Grand Theft Auto 6. Think about the following fact. Rockstar Games is asking you to spend money and pre-order their game, which does not have any gameplay footage to speak of. Placing this point of contention to the side, Grand Theft Auto 6 also has more than one tiered edition. The Standard Edition, which costs $79.99, grants you access to a customization-based pack called the Vintage Vice City Pack, as well as a free 1-month-long subscription to their GTA Plus online service. If you want to purchase the Ultimate Edition, which is priced at $99.99, you receive additional in-game vehicles, weapons, cosmetics, and exclusive access to a number of in-game stores. I don't mind it if companies lock certain cosmetics behind higher tiered editions of their game. Cosmetics are nice, but they do not hinder my experience overall. What I cannot agree with, however, is when companies lock gameplay-specific features or content unless you pay them an additional asking price. The Ultimate Edition of Grand Theft Auto 6 is, in my opinion, egregious. Not only does GTA 6 not offer a glimpse into its gameplay at the moment, but your disagreement with paying an extra $20 will effectively prevent you from experiencing exclusive side content to the Ultimate Edition. It's not the first time that Rockstar Games took this course of action, as you can argue that their tier system for 2018's Red Dead Redemption 2 is much worse in comparison. Furthermore, I will agree beyond a shadow of a doubt that WWE 2K26's tier system puts a black stain on today's state of gaming much more so than Grand Theft Auto 6. Needless to say, this practice of offering pre-order bonuses and locking content behind a tier-based system has become the norm nowadays, and it's one reason as to why I miss the old days of the PlayStation 2. There were several games back in the early and mid-2000s that offered pre-order bonuses such as soundtrack CDs, art books, and collectible figures, but none of them gave you the impression that you were not receiving the complete edition of the game from the get-go. Transition to a digital-only era. There's something special about owning a physical copy of a product that made an impact on you. The tangible feeling of holding the item in the palm of your hands cannot be adequately experienced with your digital collection. Although I only recently started to truly focus on building a physical collection, my assortment of physical games is not too shabby. I own every console-based Guitar Hero title, the 3 Dragon Ball Z Budokai video games, and the steelbook cases of The Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us Part 2. If I do not encounter any obstacles, I would ultimately like to own every entry in my top 100 video games and my top 100 movies in a physical format. In the meantime, it's safe to say that I'm officially a collector of physical media. Unfortunately, the appeal of physical media by the higher-ups of society has gradually downgraded over the years. The days of walking into a Blockbuster and renting a VHS tape were decimated with the invention of streaming services such as Netflix, Hulu, and Disney+. The days of walking into a video game store and picking up a title of your choosing became trivial when platforms like Amazon came into the scene and created an extremely convenient way of avoiding stores altogether by shipping the items directly to your household. The same trend could be seen the moment that digital video games inserted themselves into the hobby. Why would you spend 30 minutes driving back and forth to a store to pick up a game when you can sit on your computer or turn on your platform of your choice and download the game from the comfort of your home. The appeal is certainly there, but there are major issues with the digital landscape of gaming. For starters, the experience of holding the item in your hands and claiming it as truly yours is gone. It's not the biggest committed crime, but it's unfortunate nonetheless. Secondly, you are unable to trade or sell digital games. Yes, you can buy a digital code for a friend or family member and give them access to a new copy of a video game, but there's no way to complete a full transfer of your digital copy of a game between yourself and another fellow gamer. Thirdly, we can no longer relive the days of video game midnight releases. There's nothing like a trip to a gaming store close to midnight and seeing a herd of gamers who share your hobby and are just as excited about a title's launch as you. The final issue is the most concerning of them all, and it requires a bit of context before a full analysis. Think about the days of the PlayStation 2's generation, or any of the officially licensed handhelds by Sony and Nintendo. When you purchase a video game, the entire experience is on the disc. There are no pre-play installs, there are no patches, there are no prolonged maintenance sessions for online-only titles. You place the disc or the cartridge in your platform and play. Ever since the 7th generation of consoles with the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, excluding the Nintendo Wii, game installations and patches have become a common occurrence in the land of video game consoles. The latter are especially important, as they address problems that may arise post-launch, such as bugs, glitches, online cheaters, and game exploits. Game installations have never bothered me, since they have been a part of PC gaming for as long as I can remember. Patches are necessary and, on a surface level, they improve the quality of the gaming experience. At this point though, you have to ask yourself the following question. What happens if you purchase a game but have no internet connection? What happens if you are unable to download these so-called game-fixing patches? It's here where we have to focus on two distinct groups of companies. Third-party companies that do not release home consoles like Ubisoft, From Software, and Activision, and first-party companies that are responsible for our beloved home consoles, aka Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. In general, some video games of the 7th generation of consoles and its subsequent generations of consoles do not suffer. Sure, a few bugs and glitches remain, but they are still playable from start to finish. 2017's Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition is an example of a game that can be played adequately without the need to install its patches. However, a lot of video games are practically unplayable without a constant internet connection or the installation of said patches. A perfect example of a said practice is 2026's Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag Resynced by Ubisoft. When the original version was released in 2013, you only needed to connect to Ubisoft servers prior to seeing the main menu for a one-time activation. When the remake was launched this year, the one-time activation became a necessary constant connection to Ubisoft servers. A game that was originally a mainly offline experience is now an online-only title. It does not matter if you purchased the physical or digital edition of the game. If you are not logged into Ubisoft servers, you spent more than $50 on a coaster. Who made the decision to require the constant online connection? It was not one of the big boys in town like Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. It was Ubisoft, a gaming company that mainly deals with software at the moment. These companies do not only dictate the quality of their games at launch, but also the inclusion of shady practices such as the one that plagued Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag Resynced. Now, let us shift focus to the big trio, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Sadly, their involvement in the digital-only future is now without its fair share of controversies. Nintendo's newest console, the Nintendo Switch 2, has a plethora of games that ask you to download the digital version of the game, even though you purchase a physical copy. A few examples include 2025's Yakuza Kiwami 2, 2025's Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and 2026's 007 First Light. The other two companies, Microsoft and Nintendo, were recently in hot waters after they indirectly declared that gamers do not own their digital purchases, they merely rent them. Both Microsoft and Sony have implemented a clause in their terms of service that states the following: your account and all of your games will be erased if you do not log into the internet after a certain period of time. I cannot picture a scenario where I would voluntarily be absent from gaming for the referenced periods of time, but it's still incredibly questionable that the clause exists in the first place. While this clause is bad for the consumers, Sony, the company behind the PlayStation devices, decided to be the highlight of the party and directly state that these companies can and will take away access to your digital purchases for any reason. In late June of this year, Sony actively went out of their way to remove hundreds of movies from their online catalog, which would also remove those films from your own catalog even if you already purchased them. It sounds like a practice that should be used as a lawsuit against Sony, but the company specifically included a section in their terms of service that says they can remove access to your digital purchases for any reason of their choosing. They warned us ahead of time, but it's still anti-consumer. Take Sony's and Microsoft's recent actions, as well as the uncertainty that video games will be playable without a constant internet connection and regular patches, and focus on today's catalyst, Grand Theft Auto 6. I would like to state for the record that digital-only video games have existed for years. Indie video games are practically exclusive to the online marketplace, and 2023's Alan Wake 2 was initially launched exclusively as a digital release, with the physical edition releasing a year later. However, there has never been a major AAA video game that was only released with a digital format. Grand Theft Auto 6 appears to be the first of its kind, and the decision to ignore owners of physical games is unwise to say the least. You can pre-order a physical case for Grand Theft Auto 6, but a disc will not wait for you inside of it. Instead, you'll have a slip of paper with a downloadable code for the game. Not only is it a slap in the face to fans of physical media that only care for gaming preservation, but it raises the aforementioned questions with regards to Rockstar's next blockbuster. What happens if I want to play Grand Theft Auto 6, which is an offline-only game, but I do not have internet access or I have poor internet access? If you do not have internet at all, you can kiss your dreams of playing the next Grand Theft Auto goodbye. If you have a poor internet connection, you best pray to Lady Luck herself that it can download the entire game, as well as its patches. These shady practices of an all-digital gaming world ultimately boil down to a simple truth: video game preservation is vital. At the same time, it will only work if two objectives are met. On one hand, physical copies of games continue to exist. On the other hand, these copies must be playable offline from beginning to end with an acceptable level of quality. The days of asking you to constantly access the internet or rely on patches for an acceptable experience while playing single-player modes in video games such as 2026's Halo Campaign Evolved and 2016's Quantum Break should be placed behind us and remain there for the foreseeable future. Grand Theft Auto 6 is the first major AAA game that will only be available in the digital market space, but I hope that does not become the norm for other AAA games anytime soon. Unequal criticism. Whether or not you have ever been a parent, the following scenario has definitely crossed your mind. Certain people in life get a pass for what will be considered as wrong by others. A parent with more than one child has his or her favorites. You can deny it all day or night, but there are favorites. One sibling may be grounded for a week, while another sibling may simply have a talking to by one of the parents for committing the same act as the first sibling. It's unfair and unequal at the same time, but it's an act that all of us partook in at some point in our lifetimes. I confidently make that claim because the principle exists in other aspects of life, such as movies, sports, and more pertaining to this video, gaming. I adore Quentin Tarantino as a director and I'm a fan of his movies. Even so, I gave 2019's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a pass as a film because of the director, despite the movie suffering from many issues that would tank other films in general or within the specific genre. I have been extremely vocal on social media about my disappointment in World Wrestling Entertainment, aka WWE, due to its storylines and booking decisions, yet I cannot stop being informed about the product because I've been a fan of it since the mid-2000s. I promise that, willingly or unwillingly, you gave something in your life a pass for a reason that would be the focal point of criticism for other things. Grand Theft Auto 6 and its developers, Rockstar Games, are perfect examples within gaming that received pass after pass from both fans and critics alike. When Mario Kart World was announced for the Nintendo Switch 2 with a price tag of $80 for a digital copy, the gaming community went on a verbal strike against Nintendo and heavily criticized them for the price increase from the base $70 price tag. When Rockstar Games announced that Grand Theft Auto 6 will be released for $80, I have not seen anyone talk badly about said decision. Most gamers nodded in approval. I'm not comparing Mario Kart World and Grand Theft Auto 6 as games themselves, but the step forward to increase the price of video games received less pushback when it comes to the next open world sandbox experience. Another example about Grand Theft Auto 6 directly ties to a point of contention that was already discussed in this video: the transition from physical games to digital titles. Prior to the title's reveal, there's been a consensus within the gaming community about the following talking point: digital games are convenient, but physical titles are cool and important because they promote the preservation of video games. When Grand Theft Auto 6 was revealed to the world as a digital-only game, the uproar within the gaming community lasted for a couple of days. When PlayStation announced that they will discontinue physical games in January of 2028, the rage from fans of physical media has continued till this day. Check out the comment section of any PlayStation-owned YouTube video from the past couple weeks or so. Regardless of the video's context, the comments attack Sony for their decision about physical games. Once again, Rockstar Games and Grand Theft Auto 6 receive a pass because of their reputation. I'm fully aware that it's impossible to compare certain aspects of gaming with each other because each game has its own standards that it's trying to match or address. Nevertheless, I believe that it's important for us, the consumer, to hold each company to relatively the same standards as far as consumer satisfaction is concerned. If The Last of Us Part 3, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Remake, and Fable are released as digital-only experiences, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo should receive the same backlash as PlayStation's announcement about the termination of physical discs by the beginning of 2028. It is inevitable that we will continue to show favoritism towards video games in the future, but it's essential that we are able to distinguish the way a game impacts us and the way a game may impact others. It will help us decrease how often we hand out passes, as well as further justify the passes that we do offer to our favorite video games. Acceptance of the bare minimum. One lesson that I learned in life is the importance of acknowledging your own self-worth. It's a lesson that does not only affect your personal values, but also your economic status. Would you rather spend $20 on a burger that is dry without the accompanying condiments? Or would you prefer to spend $20 on a quality full meal with a sandwich, a side, and a drink? I cannot predict your own answers, but I would absolutely side with the latter option. It does not help our case that prices in 2026 are astronomically absurd. Housing is unaffordable with a single type of employment unless you make more than $100,000 a year. Gas prices fluctuate in the United States due to a war in the Middle East, and a trip to the movie theater without bringing items from outside of the theater will easily set you back $50 if you want to spoil yourself with a snack and a beverage. Video games have not escaped the ascension of price tags around the world either. The hobby was never cheap to begin with, but the price of games in the past few years has increased from $60 to $70, and a few titles more recently attempted to further increase the price by $10 for a total of $80. Keep in mind that these prices do not include season passes, microtransactions, and other pieces of downloadable content. Unlike housing and gas prices, there's one solution for gamers to protest against ridiculous practices. Do not buy the titles in a way that puts money in the developers' and publishers' pockets. When a company attempts to nickel and dime you for every penny while implementing questionable practices and offering the bare minimum, you need to vote with your wallet. An egregious example can be easily pinpointed with the yearly releases of EA's Madden football games and 2K's NBA titles, which are nothing more than roster updates with a few additions that were removed in previous experiences and are brought back while being advertised as inclusions that were built from the ground up. Sadly, Grand Theft Auto 6 is another example of a title that currently offers the bare minimum and expects you to fork up your hard-earned dollar prior to its release. Where's the issue? It's not its exclusive release as digital media. It's not its two-tiered editions. It's the fact that, as of the recording of this video, no gameplay has been shown for the game. There's not a single piece of footage that displays how the game will perform in the hands of the players come this November. Yes, you can predict how it will play because it will most likely play similar to the previous Grand Theft Auto titles, but Rockstar Games requests to pre-order a game that has no gameplay footage, a game that will only be available digitally, and a game that will strip away some of its content to incentivize you to purchase the Ultimate Edition of Rockstar Games' newest baby is a bit ridiculous in my opinion. If we can learn anything from Grand Theft Auto 6 at this point in the video is the following. Do not settle for the bare minimum. Do not pre-order games that do not have any gameplay footage. Do not pre-order games that are not proven to be worth your dollar. What would happen if Rockstar Games saves their gameplay reveal for the title's launch, and it has the same performance as Cyberpunk 2077 at the game's release? I sure as heck don't want to see it happen. Lack of innovation. Although indie titles do not have the budget of their AA or AAA siblings, they typically beat their older brothers and sisters in a special department: creativity. Analyze the biggest video games of 2026 thus far: Resident Evil Requiem, Saros, Yakuza Kiwami 3 and Dark Ties. All three of these games are fantastic and will most likely end up in my list of the top 10 games of 2026, but we have played similar titles in the past. Which game can be comparable to Fez? Which title can be comparable to Crypt of the Necrodancer? Which experience can be comparable to The Witness? They are very different from one another at face value, but all three experiences burst with creativity in spades. Lack of creativity rarely equates to a lower rating in my books. With that being said, we have reached a section of the video where I must be transparent and brutally honest about my feelings towards the Grand Theft Auto series. My experience with the franchise is limited to an extent. I completed both Grand Theft Auto 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5, both of which are wonderful experiences that will make anyone a fan of the developers behind them. I tried my hands on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas on several occasions, but it's not to my liking. I'm sure that was revolutionary back in 2004, but personally, it's a tad outdated in today's age of gaming. The only other Grand Theft Auto title that I tested was Grand Theft Auto 3, but I checked it out when I was a child and only for a grand total of 10 minutes. This section of the video is called Lack of Innovation. It may be a comment that is worthy of criticism, but it's said lack of innovation that is my biggest issue with the series at this point in time. Compare Grand Theft Auto 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5. Is the latter more visually appealing? 100%. Does the latter offer more bang for the buck? I would say so, especially with the inclusion of Grand Theft Auto Online. Is the story superior in Grand Theft Auto 5? I can see an argument for either case. Nico's journey in Grand Theft Auto 4 to the United States is compelling, while the interactions between the three protagonists in Grand Theft Auto 5 are, for the most part, engaging. With all of it being said, which core feature is different between Grand Theft Auto 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5? In my opinion, there's no direct answer. When you play GTA 4, 5, or San Andreas, the gameplay is always the same. Rockstar Games offers you an open-world sandbox experience where you can go into the streets, harm whoever you see fit, steal cars, get chased by the police, and occasionally experiment with cheat codes to create true chaos, all the while following the story of the main hero or anti-hero, depending on how you analyze the lead character. There's no originality, there's no innovation. Will there be activities in Grand Theft Auto 6 that were not available in previous iterations of the series? I will be shocked if the answer is no. Needless to say, the core experience will be unchanged. You will run around the streets of Miami, kill both innocent and guilty personnel, and escape law enforcement. As I said at the beginning of this video section, a lack of innovation does not automatically equate to a lower score at the time of the product's review. Even so, the lack of innovation that will be displayed in Grand Theft Auto 6's core mechanics display an issue that affects the industry as a whole. Developers and publishers do not take risks. Nonetheless, the fault cannot be blamed completely on the makers of the games. I also point my fingers towards the consumers. It's saddening to see how many gamers only try out games that are quote-unquote safe bets. They only stick with familiar franchises, familiar genres, or titles that their friends and family recommended to them. I have seen countless instances where a content creator says that the game is good and exciting, and then and only then are his or her followers excited for the game. It's a sheep-like mentality, and it's quite unfortunate. When push comes to shove, a good portion of the gaming community avoids gaming experiences that could be their personal surprises of the year. 2026's Homura Hime is an indie exclusive on PC that has not been covered at all by mainstream online platforms such as IGN and GameSpot, but the combat matches the quality of the gameplay system that is presented in action titles such as 2013's Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance and 2017's Nier Automata. If you're excited to carry over your experience from Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 to Grand Theft Auto 6's new and improved setting, I wholeheartedly understand you. All in all though, I recommend that you take one gaming related risk this year and expose yourself to video games that surely do not lack innovation. If you need some recommendations, leave your request in the comment section and I will gladly highlight a personal recommendation. Insecure video game releases. If you have ever been a part of a theatrical performance, the most important objective is as follows: be convincing. The writers are responsible for the impact of the plot, but it's your job as one of the characters to convince the audience that your role is vital to the success of the play. If I watch a theatrical play of The Jungle Book and Mowgli's Stoic, my time at the theater will be riddled with unanswered questions and disappointment. When it comes to other forms of media such as TV shows, movies, or video games, it's important that the people who are creating the products are as confident in them as humanly possible. Paul Levesque, the CCO of World Wrestling Entertainment, continuously offers empty promises by saying that the nightly performance will usher a new era in professional wrestling. But his confidence in the product is notable, since the viewership on said evening skyrockets every time without fail. Ideally, we all want every product to succeed, and the creators' belief that their product will appeal to the masses is a key aspect of Advertisement 101. Throughout this video, I placed Grand Theft Auto 6 in a negative spotlight as a way to criticize today's state of gaming. If you're looking forward to what possibly could be the winner of this year's Game of the Year award, this section of the video is for you. Unlike the majority of this critique, the party in fault when it comes to insecure release dates will not be Grand Theft Auto 6. Instead, the guilty of video games are every title that will be released in the months leading up to GTA 6. We previously talked about the impact of Grand Theft Auto 6 on the gaming industry, which is attached to a harsh economic reality. Many gamers cannot afford more than one video game a month. As a result, Grand Theft Auto 6 will be many people's only gaming-related purchase in November. As a direct response to avoid a lack of sales, many developers and publishers decided to schedule their game's launch in September, and the amount of titles that are scheduled to launch 2 months prior to GTA 6 is staggering. There's a saying in the gaming community that October is nicknamed Broketober. It stems from the tradition that October is the month that is typically stacked with video game releases. This year, however, the filled-up 30-day period is September. It's possible that the overstacking of video game releases in September is purely a coincidence. However, what if it's not a coincidence? What if these titles' publishers decided to place their products in September in order to avoid direct competition with Grand Theft Auto 6? If that is the case, it presents the following message: we are not confident in our product. Why would I spend anywhere between $50 to $70 on a game if the developers and publishers themselves do not believe that their product cannot match today's gaming standards? I can only imagine how difficult video game development can be in 2026. The common layoffs, the reliance on artificial intelligence, and the overabundance of toxic criticism on social media can be a lot for anyone to handle. At the same time, all I'm asking is for publishers and developers to release a product that represents their pride and confidence in its success. As long as they abide by this philosophy, they should not have any issue with launching their product at any point in the year. Unrealistic expectations. When an announcement of a new product is shared with the consumer, there are inevitable expectations that attach themselves to the item in question. When a new addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe releases in the theater, such as the upcoming Avengers Doomsday film, I expect nothing more than entertaining action sequences. When I attend the Chicago Bulls basketball game, I will be surprised if the team's mascot does not launch something towards the people in attendance. There's nothing wrong with having pre-established expectations in anticipation of a new experience, but it becomes a dangerous game when these expectations become unrealistic. Think about acclaimed film director Christopher Nolan. If you briefly scan his catalog of movies, you'll be hard-pressed to find a theatrical experience that is genuinely horrible. 2014's Interstellar blew everyone's mind with its intergalactic journey. 2006's The Prestige incorporated magic and illusions into a crime drama, and 2008's The Dark Knight is, in my opinion, the best live-action Batman film in existence. Taking these creations into consideration, it's likely that you will enter every showing of a Christopher Nolan movie with the belief that it will blow your expectations out of the water and automatically cement itself as a Movie of the Year contender. It's a state of mind that took over my mindset when I checked out 2017's Dunkirk and 2020's Tenet. I have to be mean for a moment. 2017's Dunkirk encouraged me to fall asleep on several occasions, and 2020's Tenet straight up angered me once it revealed the identity of the protagonist. I'm glad that Mr. Nolan eventually returned to his proper place as one of the best directors out there with 2023's Oppenheimer and 2026's The Odyssey, but I have learned my lesson. Setting realistic expectations is a key ingredient for the enjoyment of a product. As a gamer, I see unnecessarily hyped up expectations on a daily basis. Needless to say, the place where it's predominantly displayed is prior to any of Nintendo's, Sony's, or Microsoft's gaming showcases. One of many traditions that is consistently acted upon prior to their presentations is visible when gamers create their lists of the most anticipated video games in these presentations. At face value, there is nothing inherently wrong here. Sadly, some of these lists and predictions are over the top and beyond unrealistic. Nintendo fans want a remake of Super Mario 64. Xbox fans desire a Halo game that resembles 2004's Halo 2. PlayStation fans request the announcement of a new SOCOM or Killzone game. Each prediction will be incredible if they come true, but you have a better chance to get your hands on a Nintendo GameCube 2 than seeing your predicted announcements firsthand. Gamers are guilty of setting unrealistic expectations, which often translates to disappointment and an occasional rant on social media. Let's talk about GTA 6. There's no doubt that Rockstar Games' next title, GTA 6, will be the highlight of the gaming industry come this November. It has been more than a decade since we've seen a new Grand Theft Auto title, and I empathize with gamers who are fans of the IP and waited for years upon years for the follow-up to GTA 5. At the same time, I've also seen an overabundance of excitement for the product that has forced me to raise an eyebrow and internally display a certain level of concern. It's a type of excitement that could be properly demonstrated for the second coming of Jesus, the birth of a child, or achieving a lifelong goal. It's a type of excitement that has indirectly asked many gamers to take a day, a week, or a month-long break from their source of employment in order to play a video game. I'm happy for the folks who cannot wait to download Grand Theft Auto 6 and play it at release, but I cannot be more upfront with the following request. Set your expectations. Will Grand Theft Auto 6 be entertaining? Probably. Will it solve global warming? I highly doubt it. Setting realistic expectations will lessen the tendency that you'll be disappointed as a gamer. I promise you as much. Animalistic online discourse. One of my favorite aspects about gaming is the fact that there is a video game for everyone. If you want an experience that resembles an interactive movie such as 2010's Heavy Rain, 2022's As Dusk Falls, or 2025's Dispatch, the industry has you covered. If you're more interested in a game like 2012's XCOM Enemy Unknown, 2006's Jeanne d'Arc, or 1998's Final Fantasy Tactics, where a single wrong move on a digital board can lead to failure, the industry has you covered. If you look forward to sharing your hobby with your friends by playing video games such as 2005's Marvel Nemesis Rise of the Imperfects, 2008's Mario Kart for the Nintendo Wii, or 2015's Quiplash, the industry has you covered. Gaming's appeal in the masses is very underrated and underappreciated. If you give the hobby a chance, there's a gaming experience out there that will tickle your fancy. If you decide to partake in the hobby of video games, there's a fair chance that you will encounter games that you would consider as your personal favorites. A few of my favorite video games include 2006's Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, 2013's Rayman Legends, and 2018's Beat Saber. There's nothing wrong with being a fan of something. It becomes a problem when you become a fanboy or a fangirl. What is the difference? A fan will be able to withstand criticism of what they are supporting. A fanboy or a fangirl will not. And it's here where my biggest issue with today's state of gaming resides. The inability of people to express their opinions in a way that is empathetic, accurately informative, and one that welcomes constructive criticism. When I was a kid or a teenager back in the day, my friends and I would always disagree on our gaming preferences. One of my friends would spend hours and hours on the FIFA soccer series, and I could not care less. I used to complete every piece of content that 1998's Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six and 2000's Deus Ex had to offer, but my friends were not aware of those titles' existence. Even so, we simply respected each other's opinions on games. There were no arguments, there was no excessive trolling, there were certainly no threats of physical harm. Gaming was much more enjoyable as a topic of discourse in the late 90s and early 2000s, which is ironic because gaming nowadays is much more acceptable as a hobby than it was 3 decades ago. As far as the past 10 years or so are concerned, gaming discourse, especially online, has become intolerable. Admittedly, it is not only with gaming. It includes conversations about every and any topic. However, I primarily try to engage in online discourse about gaming, so I will focus on it here. If you claim that you did not enjoy a particular aspect of a popular video game, be ready to be called every name in the book and possibly receive a death threat. If you create a YouTube video that dares to express displeasure at a video game or a gaming company while at the same time affirming that you understand why others like it, your positive intentions do not matter. The thumbs down that your video will receive will overwhelmingly outshine the people who enjoyed your content and decided that it deserved a thumbs up. It's discouraging, disappointing, depressing, and only encourages you to stop sharing your gaming-related thoughts on the internet altogether. It does not help your case when you consider that larger content creators than you will sometimes directly criticize you or send their lackeys, aka their fans, to harass you in their place. It does not matter if you express your opinion in an amicable manner and as a way to share your love for the hobby. When a group of 30 plus people talk smack about your opinion of a product, it impacts your mental health. It's true that an online presence must be accompanied by a strong backbone and one that will not shatter at the sight of an opposite train of thought. But why are certain gamers so anal about others' opinions? Why do certain gamers spend more time on the internet butting heads with fellow players over a piece of plastic as opposed to enjoying the hobby themselves? I see this aggressive demeanor online on a daily basis, whether it's from lone individuals who find joy in the displeasure of others, or from video game players who are part of a community where sharing gaming-related takes that dare to oppose the ones from the leader of said community are frowned upon and will be met with ridicule. I'm not completely against trolling or playfully making fun of one's take on gaming. I'm a member of a few communities where trolling is a regular occurrence and a practice that is perceived with playful intentions, which is why the verbal attacks on one of my more recent videos that displayed my favorite video games to the online community did not bother me nearly as much as it would have if they were viewed by yours truly back in the mid-2010s. Ultimately, though, the most important outcome of gaming is as follows: have fun. As long as you have fun with your games, I do not care what you play or which video game is your favorite. What I do care about, however, is whether or not you express your thoughts about my opinions or gaming in general in a way that, at the end of the day, circles around to being respectable. If you're one of those individuals who enters an online social platform and either harasses folks who are excited for GTA 6 or defends the product by saying that all naysayers are pieces of human garbage, then you and I have nothing further to discuss. When I sit on my rocking chair a few decades from now and reminiscence on my favorite hobby of all time, I would like to remember it as a pastime that gave me endless entertainment instead of endless misery. Well folks, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for checking it out. Are you excited for Grand Theft Auto 6? Have you observed or partaken in one or more of the patterns that we discussed in the video? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Despite the unappealing state of gaming in 2026, it's still my favorite hobby and I will continue to be a gamer as long as my health does not stop me from doing so. Till next time, have a great day or evening wherever you are. My name is AS, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.